Hello, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough, and welcome back to another episode of the Summer of SpongeBob. Today we're going to be looking at the two theatrical films, SpongeBob the Movie and Sponge Out of Water. Now, as I mentioned in my review of the series, the first theatrical film from 2004 was intended to be a big finale piece to the SpongeBob mythos, but that didn't happen because Nick didn't want their money train to come to a stop.
We've got to have money.
It took 3 months for Steven Hillenburg and his writing staff to write the full script. Before the plot was officially revealed, it was a gag amongst the office that the plot was going to be about SpongeBob going across the ocean to save Patrick from some fishermen, intended to be a reference to Finding Nemo. Now, I remember when the movie was just first being announced, and I was excited as hell, because the trailers made it look awesome.
Bigger, squarier, spongier.
And rewatching it years later, it still really holds up. The movie starts with SpongeBob being disappointed that he wasn't given the manager job of the brand new Krusty Krab 2. The job was given to Squidward instead because, according to Mr. Krabs and the rest of the Bikini Bottom, he's just a naive kid and nothing more. But Plankton launches a scheme codenamed Plan Z, involving stealing Neptune's crown. And yes, Neptune is different in this movie compared to how he is in the show. He looks different, he's given a different voice actor, he has a daughter, and he's portrayed more as a king than a god. Then hiding the crown in a faraway bad part of the ocean called Shell City, and then framing it all on Mr. Krabs. Until the protests of SpongeBob, as well as his daughter Mindy, Neptune puts Krabs on ice and gives SpongeBob and Patrick 6 days to return the crown. And the quest with these two lovable click-clacks begins, as they are heckled by rednecks, carjacked, almost killed in a biker bar, and almost eaten by an old woman frogfish. Plankton steals the secret formula back home. Business for the chum bucket booms, and soon every Bikini Bottomite is under Plankton's control with his mind-controlling bucket helmets. Yeah, Plankton's way more of a serious threat in this movie than he ever was in the TV show. After a little bit of self-doubt, the duo grow utter manly confidence once Mindy convinces them that they are men by putting fake seaweed mustaches on them. And while all that is going on, Plankton hired a hitman to go after them, played by Alec Baldwin.
Hey, I want to tell you something, okay? And I want to leave a message for you right now. And you don't even have that goddamn phone turned on.
And the duo are taken away by an even bigger threat, a Cyclops who is actually just a scuba diver. Well, it's good to see that level boss from Awesome Possum got some better work after that game. And the two find out that Shell City is actually this guy's beachfront gift shop where he sells sun-dried sea creatures. But friendship prevails as the two successfully get Neptune's crown back in their hands. And they make it back to Bikini Bottom thanks to David Hasselhoff cameo! Yeah, somewhere right now, Shannon from Shannon Reviews is probably having a fangirl squee over this scene. And when it seems that all is still lost due to Plankton's dirty tricks, SpongeBob saves the day through the power of rock and roll!
You're a goofy goober! We're all goofy goobers! Goofy, goofy, goober, goober!
The movie ends with Plankton being taken away, Neptune getting his crown back, and SpongeBob being rewarded with the newfound respect amongst the town, as well as the manager job of the Krusty Krab 2. So what exactly did make this movie so good? The animation is great. I remember loving the way this looked on the silver screen. It goes to show the miracles that your visuals can get with a bigger budget. The colors are even more vibrant, and every location is wonderfully designed, helped with the lighting, from the harsh reds in the Thug Tug to the murky, depressing grays in the trench's outskirts. As for the plot and the writing, it works in the same way for SpongeBob that it worked for the Powerpuff Girls movie. But whereas that was supposed to be a prequel story, this movie works as a finale piece. Despite the show continuing after this movie, the film is supposed to be the definitive closure point to the show, and in that way, it totally works. The character arc of SpongeBob not being taken seriously and then proving himself as more than just some dumb kid is perfect here. We see him hit hard in the beginning, rise to the occasion all throughout, and then proving himself at the end with this very emotional speech.
And if I've learned anything during that time, it's that you are who you are. No amount of mermaid magic or managerial promotion can make me anything more than what I really am inside. A kid.
That's great. Now get back against the wall.
But that's okay! Because I did what everyone said a kid couldn't do! I made it to Shell City, and I beat the Cyclops, and I rode the Hasselhoff, and I brought the crown back!
The movie's message of being true to yourself, that it's important to grow up but never let go of your inner fun or motivational drive, is a very powerful one, once again hammered home by that ending. And another great thing about this movie is the music. The ending song, Goofy Goober Rock, is such a headbanging classic. And how would it not? It's a cover of Twisted Sister's I Wanna Rock. Now That We're Men is a catchy little show tune that showcases SpongeBob and Patrick's newly found confidence and helps them get from the trench to the outskirts of Shell City. And it is awesome that we get a variation of a Motorhead song in Thug Tug. Overall, this is a great movie. As a theatrical movie based on a TV show, it succeeds. As a finale piece, it's wonderful. And as a movie itself, it's just an enjoyable ride. After this movie was released, the show then continued into season 4, and Steven Hillenburg stepped down from the show, and we already talked about this with the series overview. The point is that years later, Steven Hillenburg returned to work on the second theatrical movie, Sponge Out of Water, which technically counts as a non-specific prequel, because if the SpongeBob movie is supposed to be the finale, then that means that the events of Sponge Out of Water would have to take place before it. And then the third SpongeBob movie that was just recently announced is supposed to be a prequel to the series as a whole, so these SpongeBob movies are actually going backwards. Man, Doctor Who's been going on for 60 plus years, and yet SpongeBob continuity is more confusing. Yes, I remember briefly giving some thoughts on the trailer in my overusage of CGI in movies rant. And like I said, the CG element presented in the trailer I thought could be good. The plot this time around is about an evil pirate burger truck owner, played by Antonio Banderas, using a magic book to obtain the Krabby Patty formula. With the lack of Krabby Patties, the Bikini Bottom goes into a Mad Max-style apocalypse. Mr. Krabs assumes that Plankton did it, because obviously, but SpongeBob sticks up for him because he also saw the recipe disappear. Ostracized by the rest of the town, the two try to find a way to set things right. The good-hearted optimist and the cynical super genius having to use TM work.
Teamwork.
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 Tie 'em up.
Say team, like a sports
Team.
team. Now say work.
Work.
Put them together, what do you got?
Time bomb. Work.
Getting better.
From there, time travel becomes a thing, and there's a stop-motion dolphin Time Lord who keeps the planets in line, who needs to take a bathroom break. It happens. And the thing that was all over the advertisement, they're going to be in CG. And they're also going to be superheroes. Not that it really matters, because it's the last act of the movie.
To save their world,
Come on, team, let's get that book back.
they must come to ours.
What is this place?
The main cast get their hands on the magical book and rewrite it so that they can take on evil Antonio Banderas. And the last act of the movie is a big action set piece where everyone is running around with their new super abilities. Best one easily being Plankton with Hulk strength. They save the day, a lesson of teamwork is learned, SpongeBob and Plankton have a semi-real friendship now, until we have a good laugh going back to status quo, of course, and we end with a rap battle, with actual assistance from ERB. This movie is good, just not as good as the first movie. The animation was as good as the first one. Hell, I thought the CG even looked good. The music was also very well done in this movie, from the teamwork duet between SpongeBob and Plankton, and the songs by the band Nerd are really catchy in an indie geek way. The characters finally started acting like they used to in the show, and the dialogue was also very funny. A lot of the thanks goes to Hillenburg and his writing staff once again. But with the first one being more of a love letter finale, this movie's plot is a little bit tamer in comparison. The threats of the first film don't really feel the same here. That said, I do like the story that they presented. It's a good character study that we haven't seen since the Season 1 episode Fun, SpongeBob taking Plankton's side and the two forming a genuine bond. Despite Plankton obviously being untrustworthy for the most part, SpongeBob does the right thing and shows him a more heartfelt side of him. And I personally thought that that carried the whole movie. The interactions between these two and their banter was what made the movie so worthwhile. The superhero thing in the third act was all over the advertisement, and it was cool, but it was obviously a way just to get people to see it. So Sponge Out of Water, while not as good as the first one, is still a fun little flick. Like I mentioned in the series overview, it's what brought passion back to this franchise that stopped caring years ago, and showed that the franchise could still be good. Tune in next time where we're going to be looking at the SpongeBob special episodes. Until then, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough.
I wanna rock! I wanna rock! I want to rock! I wanna rock! Turn it down, you say, but all I gotta say to you is time and time again to say no!
Most of the movie, it was only the last like 15 minutes or so that were the live action bit. The rest of it was just a regular cartoon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They advertised like the whole thing was
I
a
know.
3D. That's why I didn't see it.
And then when I went to go see it, I'm like, okay, so like over an hour of this is animated.
I definitely would have seen the movie if I had known that.